I am transgender. Growing up, it was scary. I didn't have anyone to talk to. My family didn't understand. It's a struggle to be real. Society, for some reason, doesn't want people to be real. I've come across a lot of transgender children in the world, and I want to do everything in my power to make sure that they don't go through the things that I went through. It doesn't matter what gender you are. It doesn't matter what you look like. It just matters, are you a good person? I want someone to know it's okay to be transgender. It's okay to discover that you're not transgender if you think you are. It's okay to be gender fluid. It's okay to be gender neutral. It's okay to be gender non-conforming. It's okay to be male. It's okay to be female. It's okay to be gay, straight, lesbian. It's okay. Just please be a good person. Be kind. Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode of Kelly's Quest. I'm very excited today to have Tracy McKay with me. Tracy and I met during this campaign battle that we're doing to keep the human rights and dignity for transgender people in Massachusetts, so please remember to vote yes on 3. The reason that Tracy and I met is because Tracy is the mother of 2 transgender children and also the mother of a cisgender child. And for those of you that possibly don't know what that means, a cisgender child means that the child, when the doctor held them up at birth and said, based on everything I see, Miss McKay, you have a young baby, whatever it is, as that child grew up, that was the correct interpretation from that doctor. Whereas someone like me, I'm held up at birth, the doctor says, Miss Jenkins, based on everything I see, you have a healthy boy. And that's when, had I had the vocabulary, I would have kicked the doctor in the shins and said, no, doctor, you are very incorrect. And so that's kind of the difference. Tracy and I have met because we are both fighting very hard to uphold the rights of her children and myself and other people in the transgender community. So Tracy, thank you so much for being here today.
It's great to be here, Kelly.
I mean, just the fact that we met is a blessing.
Yes.
It is one of the few silver linings that has happened because of this entire, I don't know what you would call it. It's not a fiasco yet because we haven't lost our right, but it is certainly a very heavy burden and a lot of responsibility that you must feel, and I feel it also. Could you kind of just give us a little background story on your children and how you moved forward to where you're now this strong mama bear ally?
Sure. Well, as you said, I have the 3 children. And when I first started parenting these kids, I thought I was parenting 3 boys. And we did all the things that families with 3 boys did. There was lots of sports and all kinds of activities. And then about 5 years ago, both my oldest and my youngest let me know, each without knowing about the other, that they were transgender. And it was about 3 years ago that both of them started living full-time as female.
Had you ever heard of the word transgender before your children? Had you been exposed to transgender people? Did you know us, or was this something totally new for you?
Well, I certainly knew what transgender meant. I admit that I probably had not spent a lot of time thinking about that. I think I always would have said that I was supportive of the transgender community, but it was not something that I thought really impacted me. And for my kids, it felt like it came out of the blue. I mean, they never expressed any interest in female names or female clothing or even more stereotypical female activities. So for us, as I said, it felt like it came out of the blue. It was quite a surprise, and I felt like there was a big learning curve for me.
I know for me, I was really big into sports as a child, and I didn't want to lose that part of my identity, because that was the one place for me where my brain could say, body, go do this athletic thing, and then it would happen. And there was very few times in my life where my brain and body worked together in harmony, and sports were part of it. And so the fact that sports were a huge part of your family's life is a very good thing because it gives you the opportunity to connect, make that mind-body connection and have that peace for a little while. When your children came out to you, I imagine the first thing that, I mean, actually, I shouldn't say I imagine that one of the things that happened was you became concerned for your children's safety as you started thinking about this. What were some of the steps that you did as a parent to try to understand what was happening with the information your children just gave you? Did you go online? Did you find a support groups? How did you start this process of learning?
Well, I did all of those things. I went to a support group, I did some research online, but I felt at the time, and I think maybe it was because I felt that I had to keep moving. I knew that there were things that I needed to do for them, and I wanted to keep moving. So it's kind of surprised me that I didn't do as much reading and going to support groups as I would have thought that I was going to do. But I felt like I just kind of kept my head down, and kept doing the things that I knew that they needed to do. So we knew we had to find doctors and therapists and the name changes and all those things. So I just kept going and learned kind of along the way.
Now, your children, I'm assuming that now that they have transitioned, they are in the community and they're living their lives. When I transitioned in Tennessee, I took on this role of being what's called stealth.
Yes.
I didn't let anyone know that I was transgender for several reasons. I was ashamed of the fact and I didn't want other people to know, which I have grown out of. I am not ashamed of being transgender anymore. It's part of my identity and it's who I am. But there was also this understanding that I was going to be shunned by society. And that was a very Southern thing, I thought. Now, up here, your children are out. I don't know how out they are with their community and with their friends, but have you experienced any backlash from the school systems if they're in a school system?
None at all. I mean, we were very fortunate when so for my oldest daughter, the first time that she began living full-time as female was the year that she went to college. So I remember I called the school and I said, well, she took a gap year and then she was going to transition during the gap year and then go to college. So I remember I called the LGBTQ center on the campus and I said, okay, my daughter's going to be coming there next year. We need to get, the housing and everything. And the person said to me, really nice, I know this is a big deal for you, but we have 60 trans kids on campus now, so we're good. We're all set. And that made me feel really comfortable that, or as comfortable as I could be, that they had a handle on the situation. And for my youngest daughter, when she transitioned, she wanted to move to a private school, which we did. And it turned out that it wasn't the best fit for her in terms of the school, but they were, the staff and everyone was very accepting, and so we really haven't had any trouble, which has been nice.
That's huge. I know that the school system that I work at, that we are trying to now promote gender diversity. When I say we, I'm not a representative of my school. The school system itself is now trying to promote gender diversity. And you see in my school little signs on doors everywhere saying safe zone, LGBTQ safe zone, be proud of yourself. Diversity is a good thing. We have a rainbow flag in the school that I work at. And I really feel like that the school system, the faculty level of the school system is working diligently, very hard to try to understand something. But I also feel like that they're trying to play catch up.
Oh yeah.
Because just like it came out of nowhere for you, I feel like a lot of school systems are all of a sudden now being exposed to this suddenly in their view, and they're scrambling to make policies, they're scrambling to understand what to do. And a lot of times those policies quite possibly aren't in place for the transgender child as much as this is what the school needs. And they don't look at the whole experience of the child, whereas I feel at my school that I work at, and it's not my school, I don't own it, the school that I work at, they are trying hard to make that jump, to make that leap. You are an educator by trade also. Do you see things in the level of school system that you work at where things are advancing forward with the administrators and with the faculty, or do you feel like it's kind of let's just wait and see what happens and tackle it when a trans child comes through our school system?
Well, I think that there's a little both of that. I think that definitely I've seen much more educational opportunities offered for staff about the LGBT community and especially transgender kids. So I see a lot of that proactive education. But I also think, again, and maybe it's because of playing catch up, but I feel like what the focus is, and what do you do when you know you have an identified trans child in your classroom. And what I think that we need to be doing is you just need, as a teacher, you just need to assume that you will have a trans child or a child that's questioning their gender in your classroom. You may never know that. Maybe that child doesn't know that right now. But if you put in practices in place feeling that that is the situation, then it's going to be better off for those kids. So
I think I agree with you that being ahead of the curve is most important. And for you, so you're an educator, you're a mother, you have 3 children, 2 that are trans and 1 child that is not trans. So you're sitting out here fighting for the human dignity and the human rights of your 2 trans children. You have a cisgender child as well. How is that process taking? How is that working as far as does the cisgender child participate in advocacy? Is it a bigger thing than they can grasp because they're not transgender, or is it something that they're like you, they're this warrior now that is out there going to fight tooth and nail for their siblings? Or what kind of dynamic is happening there?
well, so he is fantastic, and he is 100% supportive of his sisters. You know, it took some time to, as it did for everyone in the family, to really remember to use the new names and the new pronouns. But he has always been 100% behind his sisters for sure. And you know, it was hard. He felt, as my husband and I did, like he felt a sense of loss when we told him what was going on. But again, he's right there with them. I am the only one that's kind of out front and center, you know, coming out and talking. But everyone in the family, before I even came out to do my first, you know, speech, I asked everybody in the family if it was okay and what did they think. And I remember going to my son and I said, "Is this okay?" And he said, "Well, I don't know why you're asking me. It's not really about me." And I said, "Well, of course it's about you. It's about your family and it's about you, and there'll be people that you know in the audience, and it's important that you are comfortable too." And he said, "No, you should do it. It's a really important thing." So even though they're all, you know, and my husband is the same way. He doesn't, he comes to a lot of things that I speak at. He doesn't do a lot of speaking, but all of them, I feel, are very supportive of me doing this, and feel like it's the right thing for us all to be doing.
I mean, that's got to be powerful for you to come home, because we spill our guts. We go in front of audiences of strangers and we tell heart-wrenching stories. We share the impact of what is going on in our lives. And for you to be able to come home to somebody that's there waiting for you, that is a supportive person, that's like, "Thank you for doing this. This is the right thing," no matter what age it is, whether it's a husband, a child, that has to make you proud of what you've done bringing your children up. I mean, that, for me, that's a reflection of you also, that your children are saying, "Yes, go do this. I'm willing to take a risk of possibly people knowing about this." And that says, for me, that no matter what cause there was, that you've raised your kids right to understand how to fight that cause. So. And I come from a situation where one of the reasons I was really looking forward to this is because mothers that just support their children, that should be a no-brainer. That should be the easiest thing for a parent to do on the planet. But we know the truth of the situation, that there's a lot of parents that struggle with this, and then they pull apart the family. So rather than struggling with it and then saying, "This is my children, these are the people that I love, this is my life," and being a part of it, they separate from their children. And your children are going to have the advantage of not ever experiencing that kind of abandonment, which to you is just probably like, "Of course I love my children." But for people like me, it's like, whoa, she loves her children still. And what that does for me is it lets me know that it's not me that's the problem with my family. It's them not understanding me and not knowing how to deal with who I am, so they make assumptions and they have actions that aren't as strong and as family oriented. So it uplifts me to see you being the warrior that you are, especially in this time, because I mean, we are facing horrible negative ads in Massachusetts right now on human rights. There are false advertisements out there stating that transgender people are not good human beings, that if we get to keep our laws, that bad things will happen to other people in society. And thank goodness, even though it should never have to be that way, Tracy, we now have statistical proof to verify that that is not true from the Williams Institute and their research. It's, to me, it's a no-brainer that violence isn't going to get worse, that nothing's going to change. But when you see these negative ads, I don't know if you've seen any of them or not yet. When you see them, for me, it takes a little bit of a chink out of the armor of me. It's like, oh, how am I ever going to stand up to this kind of intolerance and misinformation and hatred? And one of the things that I get from it is the silver lining of, if I wasn't standing up for this, I would have never have met you.
Yes.
I would have never have met the children at my school that I work with. I would have never have met the people that let me stay in their homes when I moved up here not knowing a soul. So there are silver linings. It would be better if we could have just met because you and I were at a teachers conference together and we could have become friends that way. But so there are silver linings, but how do you, so for me, I play a lot of disc golf. I take my dogs for walks. I hang out with my friends. I garden. I do these things to kind of cope on a bigger scale because sometimes this is knee-buckling terrifying to me. I won't lie. I come from a place where I didn't have human rights in Tennessee. I have been kicked out of a restaurant, or actually it was refused service in the restaurant. I have been kicked out of a bar for using the women's restroom. So for me to come up here and all of a sudden have human rights and now I have to fight for them again gives me a certain perspective. You're from Massachusetts, where I can't imagine that you ever dreamed that this fight would even come to light in Massachusetts. So how do you keep your head above water? What are some of your coping mechanisms?
Well, I'm lucky that I have lots of good friends. And so I spend a lot of time with friends, and I do a lot of walking or exercising, and we can talk. And when I'm down, I have people I can call and just say, today was not a really good day. I saw that awful commercial, so today's not a great day. So that's, I think that just the relationships in my life, and I love to read and, like I said, walk and go to the beach. So I try to do those things to keep myself, feeling good. But right now I feel like it's kind of a short-term thing. So I'm trying to do everything I can to make this come out the right way. And
we know that November 6th, something is going to happen.
Yep.
We don't know what yet, but we do know November 6th, something's going to happen. And as we're getting closer, for me, Tracy, I dwell on it. I have to think real-world situational things. I'm a teacher. I go with my students to the Museum of Science. Right now, somebody there can't say, you can't come in here, you're transgender. I've been with friends when I've been refused service in places, so I know it can happen. And I'm worried that I go to the Museum of Science with my students. They say, you can't come in here, you're transgender. And then I get to sit outside. And that's what these people that are saying no to the vote on 3 are hoping will happen. They're wanting me to no longer even be safe or comfortable going into public. They want me to hide.
That's exactly
they want
what
me
they
to
want.
not admit that I am who I am. And luckily, I'm a very stubborn Southern woman that will just get louder. And I really hope that it would be nice to sit down with somebody from the other side of the opponents. As hard as that would be, and as much as but to me, I want them to know that when what they're doing is against me, a human being, I want them to feel that. I don't know if I can convince them to feel that level of empathy or not. Maybe they're beyond that with this issue. But I want them to know that when they are putting these horrible attack ads out that are transphobic and just hateful, I mean, they're very hateful.
They're hateful.
And I want them to know that I'm doing this to Kelly Jenkins.
Right.
And because I want them to know that, that means that I'm going to places and talking that not necessarily want to hear what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Have you found yourself in that situation yet, to where you've come across some people that might not necessarily be as open to the message as you would hope?
No. Every place that I have been speaking at, I feel like I haven't shied away from that. I just haven't had that opportunity. And every place that I've been to, I feel like I've been in front of a fairly either positive or neutral crowd. So if there have been people there who have not agreed with me, I haven't really heard about it. So I've been thankful for that. So a lot of time I feel like you know, I'm kind of preaching to the choir, which is sometimes frustrating. But I do feel one of the last events, and we did together in Needham, and a lot of the people who were there who were friends of mine or who I knew, and would come up to me afterwards and say, you know, I would have voted yes on 3 anyways, but after hearing Kelly and Aspen and you and hearing about this now, instead of just voting 3 myself, I'm going to go out and I'm going to tell somebody else. I'm going to tell somebody else why I should vote 3 and how touched I was by hearing stories. So I just feel like that is so important. When you talk about talking with someone in the opposition, I just feel like if they could just meet you, if they could meet my daughters, and I feel like it would all seem so silly. That's probably naive, but that's what I feel like.
I don't know if naive's. You want to see the good in people. I don't want. It's a very complicated thing for me, Tracy, because I love the fact that I live in the United States of America. I love that we have states' rights in this nation. I love that I can leave Tennessee because they don't have protections for transgender people and come to Massachusetts because they do have protections for Massachusetts. As backwards thinking as it is, I'm okay with the fact that there is such a low threshold for a petition to be signed and to be put a challenge to a law or a law put on the books in Massachusetts. That's part of this state's voting and election process that I knew. I wasn't completely aware of that when I moved up here, but I knew that each state had its own individual rights. So while I hate the fact that this group of people have decided to take advantage of the electoral process in Massachusetts to put this law up for a repeal, I respect and feel like I'm lucky that I live in a country where I can leave Tennessee and come to Massachusetts and have rights that protect me. I wish these people would have used that power for good in the world instead of the evil that they're doing. But I do respect that I live in a nation that can happen. So I'm so torn. I'm so torn about freedom of speech. Like, this is bringing things so big into my mind that I never even thought of. Freedom of speech, things such as that, when really and truly all I want to do is go play disc golf, walk my dogs, and go to work. And pay my fair share when I go to the store.
And I think that's the message that I wish people would get too, that transgender people, they're just like everybody else. They, like you said, they just want to go to work. My kids just want to go to school. When they go into a bathroom, they just want to go in and go to the bathroom. They want to go in the bathroom, come out. They want to go to a restaurant. They just want all the same things as everybody else does. So it's very frustrating that transgender community has been made into this kind of mysterious, kind of scary group of other people that should be put over here, when in fact they're just the same as everybody else. So.
And we're not going anywhere.
No.
I mean, unless you quit giving birth to human beings, there's always going to be people in the LGBT community coming along.
But as you said, I think part of what the opposition is hoping is that by making it difficult for transgender people to go out in public, that they will withdraw from public life. Now, someone like you're a strong Southern woman and you'll get louder and keep going, but there'll be a lot of transgender people who won't. And I think that that's what this bill really is about, is that they want transgender people to withdraw from public life so that they don't have to see them, which I think is sad.
And it is, you're right. They don't want me to, they don't want to know that I exist. And they're doing some very hurtful things.
Right.
And I don't understand how that much hate can be in another person's heart. I don't.
No, I don't either. And I also think it's so, I mean, it's so sad. I don't have a lot of sympathy for the opposite, but I feel like it's sad because when I think about what those people are missing by not knowing you and not knowing my daughters and so many of the wonderful transgender people and allies that we've both met, like, you know, they're missing out on a really rich, wonderful group of people. And that's, you know, they don't see that, but they are. And that's...
Now, like I said, I'm at this place that I can talk. In Tennessee, I couldn't talk, and there were so many people that were talking for me at that time, that were doing this fight for me when I was unable to do it. And one of the beautiful things about this horrible situation is the people that are coming in to fight for us. There's a lot of very charismatic, caring people that want us to keep our rights.
Right.
And I know you're going to be meeting someone on October 22nd.
October 22nd, yeah.
If you'd like to kind of talk about that event, I would think that maybe we can help spread the word on that.
I would love to. So on October 22nd, Sarah McBride, who is a very strong, powerful transgender woman, she is one of the most vocal advocates for equality that we have in the country today. She was the first transgender person to work in the White House when she interned in the Obama administration. And she's also the first transgender person to speak at a national political convention when she spoke at the National Democratic Convention in 2016. So we are thrilled to have her come to tell her story. Again, it's October 22nd in Needham at 7 o'clock at the Congregational Church. And we're going to have her speak and tell her story. We're also having people from Freedom Mass. We're having someone from the business community, as well as local faith leaders and local elected officials to come and all show their support for the Yes on 3 campaign. So I'm very excited about that.
I'm actually looking forward to just sitting in an audience and being mesmerized by the work that the community is doing, because I don't get to, we're so in the middle of it.
Right.
That we don't really get to see the work that's happening. But I know that right now, while we're interviewing, there's people all over Massachusetts knocking on doors right now.
Yep.
There are people arranging TV interviews. There's people that are speaking at churches. There's people that are on college campuses. There's people registering people to vote. Those things are what wins this for us, bringing this community together. Because I feel like that this is a litmus test for the rest of the nation.
It sure is, yep.
And I don't want Massachusetts to become Tennessee and North Carolina. I moved 900 miles away from those two states because I didn't want to have to be afraid of using the restroom, because I didn't want to worry about being kicked out of places. And to see so many people working so hard is humbling. Well, Tracy, I have pretty much bled my soul out to you. I thank you for listening to me. This was supposed to be you telling me your story, and then I ended up kind of flipping the script and telling my story to you.
Well, you have a very powerful story to tell.
Once again, you want to talk about the October 22nd one, just to remind people one last time, and then we'll be signing off.
Okay, so October 22nd, Sarah McBride, who is going to be a fantastic speaker with some other speakers about the campaign specifically, some local leaders. So it's at October 22nd at 7 o'clock at the Congregational Church in Needham.
On and on and on it goes,
and
Tracy.
On and on it goes, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody so much for this episode. Tracy, thank you for coming in today and listening to me tell my story to you. Bye everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode.